afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of The Universal Lens. I am John Emilio, along with
Henry Beltra from The Universal Lens. Hello, my brethren.
I don't know what you were going to say there.
Nah, come on.
From the, I'm like, where's he from?
High atop the studios or whatever.
Oh, my God.
Welcome home.
Welcome home.
What's up, everybody?
Nothing.
Everybody ready?
We're ready. What are we going to talk about today?
I'll tell you what. I'm going to go back to our old school roots.
We actually had no pre-show.
Yeah.
So this is the first time Henry's like, no pre-show. He goes,
Yeah.
whatever. He goes, we're going to just go. I'm like, all right, let's just go.
Keep it fresh, bro.
Yeah, I'm cool.
I'm going to take you back. I want to keep it fresh because if you recall, the spirit of the show was me and you kicking it at the table, just nobody listening. It was us.
Yeah, two espressos and two and a half hours went by.
Every once in a while, there might be a cigar involved.
Yes,
And
do that again, for sure.
Keep it real. I want your little take on a parental situation that I had. It's just a question. It's just a parental situation that I think it made me think a little bit of the power of now, like the moment.
Oh, dude, you're talking about the book.
You know,
that's
not the book, but
yeah.
the actual phrase now.
Yeah.
As you say, there is no tomorrow. There is no yesterdays. It's now. Life is now.
Life only happens now.
So it made me think a little bit if I made the right parental decision. And I don't know if I even made a decision. I just simply let something happen. All right.
Okay.
It's something really, it's silly, but I want your take on it because I think you're very, I don't know, you're very in tune, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
You're laughing like you're some sort of moron. You're a very wise guy. I value your opinion.
I appreciate it. Yes, so let me impart my knowledge.
Impart it on me. It's something silly, but my oldest son is graduating from high school, a senior, and he had a prom.
Oh, cool.
Right? And these guys are looking forward to the after prom, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, the after party.
Right? You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The parties and all that. So they get to the prom late because they had a game. All right? So they get to the prom, but they all hurry and they get there. And they do their thing. And then I know what's going to happen later on that night. I know that my older son is going to be going to LBI. And
that's where they were going?
Yeah.
Nice.
And they're going to be some debauchery.
Have debauchery.
So,
Time to party.
for people that don't know or people that know, my son was following a good friend of his, all right? In the car. So they're in the parkway. They left the prom. They're in the parkway. You have
two separate cars?
Two separate cars.
Okay, gotcha.
So he's following his friend, the car in front.
Mm-hmm.
And his friend is a very responsible kid. It's not like, but these are a good group of kids. You know them. Right?
Yeah, no.
Good group of kids. They're not trouble-making kids.
No.
These are good kids. But all of a sudden, the kid who's driving in front of him quickly and erratically swerves to the right. Quickly and erratically. Like,
okay.
Emergency style.
Like something cut him off, something was on the road.
Something's happening.
Yeah, gotcha.
And the minute he did that, my son was like, the thought process was, what? What the hell's going on here? What? And in his quick millisecond thought process, there's a car coming right on top of my son in the parkway. In other words, the opposite way. So headlights coming at you. I'm going Parkway South.
Holy shit! So somebody was on the wrong side of the road.
So that's why the very responsible friend he was following was erratically
get out of the way. Yeah.
He had no time. He goes because he called me frantic. Because I had no time to think. So he quickly swerved to the right and ended up spinning on the parkway.
Holy shit!
Yeah, like Dominic Toretto. So he spun, gained control of the car. Right?
Wow.
And watches cars go by him and said, I'm getting out of here. So he got off he gained control and like white face and poopy pants.
Yeah, dude,
he got off the parkway
that's an adrenaline
and
rush
called
right
me
there.
immediately. He says, Papi, I gotta tell you what just happened to me. I'm like flipping out right now. I said, what happened? He goes, I saw and AJ quickly swerved and then I swerved because and I had no time to think. Oh, it's a car on top of me. I was like, shh. Okay. He goes, I'm going home. No problem. I said, follow your gut. You feel it. So he turned around. He got on the other side of the parkway, not going home. He says, he called me again. He goes, you have no idea what I'm looking at. So what happened? He goes, I'm watching like 8 cars all jumbled up.
That same
Huge,
guy.
huge accident. Like
Yeah.
there's like 6 cop
Wow, I
cars.
didn't hear about this.
There's like 6 cop cars. They're closing that parkway. He goes, this is ridiculous. And then so we have a thing where he has bad luck, right? He broke his knee. He always has bad luck. He goes, I think I had good luck. he goes, I said, babe, you have bad luck for the stupid things, but you have good luck for the big things. Because I'm telling you, he goes, Papi, I lost all my life flashing from my eyes in every way. Because then the cars that didn't hit me.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, there's this. Yeah, I get it.
The parental question I had is, in the back of my mind, all right, and if he's listening, he's gonna figure me out. In the back of my mind, there was a part of me that said, "Good, he's coming home."
Yeah, I think that's the mama bear and the parent, right? So to say, yeah.
I'm glad he's coming home. I know he's gonna be here. He's gonna be safe.
Yeah,
Not to mention, the coach. He called practice early on purpose. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I gotcha.
But he'll be fresh for his practice, and plus, his main goal right now in life is to win these championships.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this was the moment that you have with your friends, and this is your prom night, and
it's all choices.
Did I make the right call in telling him, look, follow your gut, don't go, because he was the only one that didn't continue his path. Everybody else went.
Okay.
And I'm questioning myself. Should I have said, look, compose yourself, gather yourself. It's gonna be fine. What you do now is nice and calmly get back on.
Yeah, you were okay with him coming home to be quote unquote safe. So your question is, what? Did you do the right thing?
Yeah. Did I ruin his now?
No.
You follow me?
No, because you empowered him to make a choice. Now, as a parent, we could guide our children when they're making choices, but never. This is the way I bring up my kids, from my experiences. I don't make the choices for them. I allow them to make the choice. Right. I could give them input and wisdom, maybe from experience.
And you may have a preference.
And you might, but see, so I don't let my preference. Affect what I'm telling him, because I would prefer my child to do A or B, right? Is just, again, those are just thoughts that the way I was brought up and the way I've been told things should be. So that automatic thought pattern comes and says, so I'm going to use myself as an example. So let's say this was me and John. So my order, I just knowing the way I am, I would have had 2 thought streams. The one would have been like you, Dad, I want to come home. Buddy, come home. The other one would have been, Dad, I want to keep going. Like me, I would have been like, don't, just pull over, catch your breath. Let me talk to you for 10 minutes. We get you once we get you calm. Once we see that you're calmed down, and the emotional response the emotional reaction is not there anymore, and now you can kind of think a little clearer. What do you want to do? Dad, I still want to come home. Okay, no problem. Come home. Yeah, I mean, sure, there's part of you that probably wanted him to go, and there's part of you that wanted him to come home. There's no right or wrong answer to that. You allowed your son to make a decision. Now, you ask 10 people the same question. 5 people are going to tell you, come home. 5 people are going to tell you, why'd you tell him to come home? You should have told him to go, continue going. There's no right or wrong answer. There really isn't. You made your kid make a choice. What you could do now is tell him, you made a choice. Whether you think it was the right or the wrong choice doesn't make a difference. You made a choice. That's the choice you made. You live with so that's done. There's no looking back on it. Now we just move forward from here. I don't think it's a matter of did you make the right decision in telling him to come home or not. I mean, what were you going to do? Tell him to keep going? And what if the kid wasn't in the state of mind to continue doing that? Yeah, the other kids went, but the other kids didn't have a car besides maybe AJ in front of him. The other kids didn't have a car, and they didn't spin out.
They didn't spin out.
So there's a little bit.
They had some.
Quick, yeah, but there's a little bit of There's a little bit of a different reaction to spinning. That's loss of control completely. To swerving, which is avoiding. Loss of control puts your mind in a whole different mind frame. Like your thinking changes when you lose control of something. When you lose control of anything, right? When you feel like you're not in control, it's run to safety. That's usually the mind wants to go. We lost control, run to safety. His mind says, we lost control of the car. I see cars flying by me. All this shit's happening. I just want to go somewhere where I'm cool right now. I don't want to...
Home base.
Yeah, and that's a natural human reaction. So I don't think it's a right or it's. I don't even think asking yourself did I do the right thing is even a valid.
Yeah, but I question it because it's one prom in your life. It's one post prom. You follow me?
Everything, yeah, but so every it's one post prom, it's one prom, it's one this, it's one that. We all have opportunities that either we get to take part in or we don't.
Yeah, and it's not the
so
end of the
that's
world.
not unless you make it the end of the world, right? Unless you make it, if you go, so what? You missed the prom party.
Yeah,
the prom party is just an event. It's not like now my life. I never went to my prom. Like people who go, I never went to my prom. My life's been horrible. I should have gone to my prom, and they carry that pain with them for freaking years. Or they didn't do this, and they carry that. I didn't do this, and they carry that. And it's carrying the past, right? It's carrying that decision you made, that pain from that decision with you when there's no need to. It's not happening now anymore. So he didn't go to the party. So what's happening today is where his focus and his focus should be like on living his life now. So he didn't go.
Yeah.
It should be something that dropped. That's it.
Yeah.
Not why didn't I go? Like, so I have a question. Is he questioning it?
No.
No. So then, yeah, moot point.
No, this is me.
That's great.
This is me.
That's great if he's not, because
This is me from the bird's eye view.
Yeah, you're
I'm bird's eyeing myself.
You're bird's eyeing yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're replaying the situation, trying to see what different outcomes could have there been if I said this. Would he have gone? So what if he would have? Again, whether he went or he didn't go, I don't think it's really not important. You taught him right there. He wanted to make a decision. You validated his decision.
Yeah. Well, actually the words I used was because he was on a million miles per hour.
Also, you could tell by your child's voice or the person you're talking to, they're not in the right state right now to maybe do this thing, right? So, if somebody goes through something, and I've done this with my kids, where they're going through something, and I'm talking to them, and when I get that feeling in the conversation, now, oh no, wait, okay, now it's changing. I feel that anxiety's gone. They're calmer. They're thinking clearer. Okay, now we can let them proceed. So you kind of put them in a holding pattern for a minute or two. That's what you do with kids, right? Because they're still learning. You put them in a holding pattern for a couple of minutes with you, and you assess with them. And if you feel that even after the assessment, they're not in the right mind to continue and they want to come home, then come home.
Yeah. Because
forcing them to do it, there's times where you go against the grain, especially that's more with anxiety, but this is a real life situation. This isn't like, some built up story that kid had in his head about, oh, what if. I mean, he just went through, I don't want to say traumatic, but he went through an event.
It could have been very traumatic.
He went through an event. The kid.
He saw the thin line between life and death.
Yeah. And that'll ground you. That'll
that changes you.
Forget about doing shots on my friends tonight.
Yeah.
Like, that falls wayside when that happens. You see how, not to say that's nonsense, because it's a good time with your friends, but how unimportant that is. Like, your kid maybe got a glimpse of, that's not fucking important right now.
Yeah.
It's not. I almost got taken out, spun around, 5 cars, whatever, flew by me. I didn't get hit. Screw this. I just, no. To go out and party tonight, it doesn't feel like it's an important thing to do anymore, and that's a valid decision he made.
It's what he told me. He goes, if it wasn't for my quick reflexes, I would not, because the only thing I had is move, because literally he can't see.
That's instinct, right? That's when we don't think it, we just do it.
He can't see the car in front of the car in front of the car in front of him, so he only sees the back of AJ's car.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden, shoo!
AJ disappears and hear the headlights.
Whoa, shoo! Then he does the same thing, and they spins, and he says, I'm watching the other cars like swerve me. Go, oh, thank God nobody clipped me, because just when you swerve like that onto other lanes.
Yeah, you could hit another car could hit you. It could be. I mean, it can be. Yeah, listen.
So my whole thing was, let's follow your gut. Your gut's telling you what right now? My gut's telling me get home.
There's a difference between what they say, your gut, and and when the mind comes back in. So gut feeling isn't a thought process. I've always said it's a knowing. It's It's not what if this happens. Oh my God, I'm scared. Or what if this happens? It's something inside of you that just is is guiding you to a certain answer, to a certain direction.
It's a hard decision. It's a firm decision.
It's a firm decision, but you don't even know where it's coming from. You just know. People, when I get asked this question, but like, how do I know? I go, and this is what I was told. I was always taught this. When you know, you know. You're not even questioning the knowing at this point. It's something beyond that, the thinking mind that just says, no. And that's it. And you feel this. You feel it inside this answer. You know it's there, and you just follow it, right? And then sometimes a year later, you look back on the situation and you say, yeah, the decisions I made just kind of happened. Like I didn't overthink these things in this event. They just kind of happened, and I went here and I did this, and I'm kind of glad I did follow that. And that's what we call a gut instinct, right? That just
we labeled it that.
Yes,
but it's not. No, it's nothing more than some unidentified decision
making
right
process where the mind doesn't get involved in. So there's a Morgan Freeman. It was a great post he had. He wasn't. He was doing it was a reel for some other company or website. I don't know what it was. But he's sitting there talking, and he has a great voice, Morgan Freeman, right?
Right.
The voice of God.
That's the guy. That's the guy you want narrating your book, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So he starts talking about a voice, and he says, "Not the voice that I'm speaking with." And then he leans over, and you hear this voice. It's his voice, but he's not talking anymore. He goes, "The voice inside," and he goes on. I have sent you. I'll find it. And he goes on to kind of speak about how this voice isn't a voice that is answering questions. It's like a knowing. It's like the voice that says yes or no. And you just follow that voice. And he kind of goes on to say sometimes we don't listen to that voice because there's too much noise in our head, right? That's kind of the synopsis of it. So it's that when we say that gut feeling, it's that deeper, it's a higher intelligence, a deeper knowing that just kind of pushes you in a direction that you're not questioning that this is what you should do right now. It's when the mind comes in and goes, all right, but should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? Should I do it? See, now that's not a good feeling anymore. Now that you're trying to intellectually think through a situation, which is fine sometimes. But if you're in tune enough to say, I feel like I need to go home right now. And I don't know why. I mean, with your son's instinct, I mean, I guess he does know why. But it wasn't that he was scared or he was petrified because he drove home. It's not like, Dad, come pick me up. It was like, I just want to come home. Like there was something in him that said, I just want to come home right now.
Oh, yeah. He had an hour ride back home, and he still stopped at McDonald's to get something to eat.
So that's telling you something. I just want to go home. And how do you not... I think if you're a parent and again, you're going to get both sides of the aisle on this. If you're a parent and you convince your son not to follow his gut instinct, are you doing him a disservice at this point? Like if your child has a gut instinct
to question himself,
yeah. And again, there's a fine line between the gut instinct and when you're speaking of your kid is rambling on trying to make a decision and doesn't know, and you could hear all the questions and the anxieties in his head.
Whether to take different. Biology or whether to take chemistry.
Okay, Dad, well, I had this and I don't know what this means, and I had this thought and I don't know what this means, and I had this and I don't know what this means. I have this anxiety and I think this is this. Now you go, okay, so now you're going down a rabbit hole of questions. That's when you want to nudge them to go against the grain a little bit because you can tell it's anxiety. But when somebody comes up to you and goes, I just know that's where I want to be right now. And they leave it there. There's no questions. There's something that's telling them that's where they need to be right now. And it's not for us to know. Maybe it's not for even them to know. I think if you teach somebody to not listen to that instinct that's in them, I think over time they stop hearing that instinct, and that's where people kind of get caught up in their heads even more and more and more. So the fact that Cookie said, Poppy, I want to come home. And now, Poppy, I want to come home. I'm so scared. I don't know. Like there wasn't a ton of anxiety. It was, I want to come home. I saw my life flash before my eyes. I want to come home. That party's not important right now.
That's pretty much.
I want to come home to my family. How do you not?
You know what he said?
Follow that. How do you not go like this? Son, you want to come home? Come on home. What did he say? I'm sorry.
He says, I want to make sure I sleep in my bed tonight. That's what he said.
Yeah. So I mean.
It was deep. Like he saw,
a father who is riddled with ego, would have said something else, would have taken it differently, would have pushed him to go because my son isn't fucking back. My son's not going to be not going to use a slang word,
Right.
but my son's not going to be some and come home and come.
No. Let's call him a wimp.
A wimp, yeah, and come home. No, my son's going to go. He's going to. Are you actually doing your child any? Are you doing your child any benefit? Is there any benefit to that at all? What are you teaching them? You're teaching them to not follow their gut instinct just because their gut instinct doesn't align with your egoic thinking. As a tough man go, tough man don't scared nothing. Tough man, the caveman died many years ago. We don't act like that anymore. Well, actually, the caveman probably listened to that gut instinct because he didn't have all this higher intelligent this chatter in his brain.
I would say there's no doubt that caveman used that much more than possibly we do.
Sure, he does
because he didn't have the convenience we have.
I actually, as I was saying that, I'm thinking to myself, no, that's wrong.
I would imagine he relied on that big time.
Caveman would go to cave and go, no, go in,
right?
And he won't know. He don't know why. He had a sense
something,
and there might have been a fucking tiger right around the wall, just waiting. But his hairs, his spidey sense went, no. So when your kid's spidey sense was, I want to go home. He heard that, I want to go home, and he goes, I'm going home.
So that decision making process is unconscious. Would you say? I'm not saying unconscious in the way we always use the term unconscious. Like people walk around life unconscious.
Unconsciously, just following their thought.
Go back, and now I'm using the word differently in saying, I didn't sit here and think about this decision. This decision came to me, and it's hard.
It's an
press.
Insight. It's more like an insight. Yeah. Does it happen unconsciously? I think yes and no. So yes, because you're not consciously thinking of the thought, it just happens to you.
You're not sitting walking it through.
But no, you have to be conscious enough and aware enough to hear that.
Oh, okay.
And not have that other layer of thinking that says, come on, cook. What do you cook? Come on, what are you, a wimp cook? Let's go. Come on, cook. Pull it together, cook. Let's go. Come on. Oh,
stop being a baby.
Stop being a baby. Let's go, cook. Come on. Because that voice, your ego is going to start chirping to you. No. Hot chicks and beer. Let's go. Come on. We're going to miss out on this because of this. Screw that. No. So it's kind of happens both ways. It's unconscious, but there's got to be a level of consciousness that is actually aware that insight, that voice, that nudge, that push and pull. What I call it's a push and pull inside of you. It's there.
Can I peel back the onion one more layer?
You peel back the onion.
Would you say that only happens in big decisions, not in little decisions? Like when you're talking.
So little decisions like what color shoe should I put on?
Yeah, right.
I think so. I think we question. I think when we question our decisions is when we take it from that initial ingrained answer that's in us that's saying here, and then we start questioning that.
Like this. I'm gonna go into a fine vein right here. I'm gonna like really refine it. Yeah. When you're talking about that decision that comes to you, you made me think of my. Obviously it takes two people, but when I say mine, meaning my side of the story, my decision with my wife. Like, why her? Like,
there was a connection?
You understand?
A connection that you can't...
You didn't really participate in the decision. You just know it's good. This is the one.
I mean... Yeah, I mean, people there'll be 30 different answers to that. People go, well, it was love, it was physical attraction that formed into something else.
I mean, again, you're talking and I'm thinking. I'm like a little processing machine. Now, I'm going to call myself a little calculator because I'm not that good to be a computer, but I'm a little handheld calculator as you're processing, and I'm thinking this is very similar to that decision because, again, I was 17 years old when my wife and I started going out, yet. That decision didn't hit me at 17, but along the way, it clicked.
That you knew.
I knew. Like, this is it.
This is the girl.
Everything. And I didn't sit there and go, well, you know what?
Should I be? You didn't make a pro and con list.
Right.
Okay. Should I stay with her? Should I not stay with her?
Right.
Well, she's this, she's that, she's this, she's that, she's this. So
it's very strange that it happens like that.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Just something that pulled, that kind of... You gravitated towards each other, and the beauty of it is, we don't know where that comes from. We don't know. We don't know what pulls us towards a certain person or what pushes us away from a certain person. Why we gravitate to certain people and why we don't gravitate to other people. I think you want to get, not technical, but you want to get spiritual on it. I mean, I think there's energies in us that attract us to certain people, and other energies where we just kind of, we feel like we're not compatible, is maybe a good word, with certain other people, even though we kind of like this person, they're nice, but you feel like there's a low level vibration there that either vibration could be good or bad depending on how you want to look at it, but low level something there that you're just like, yeah,
what the hell is that?
What is that? It's not for us. This is my opinion, my experiences. It's not for us to know, and I enjoy not knowing because it's the mystery of life that we don't have the answer to, and whether we're here to figure that answer out eventually sometime, I don't know. I mean, and that's the beauty of life, is we don't know what kind of gravitates us towards certain things. Again, people like to say God has already scripted the end of what. I mean, so.
But with mindfulness and reframing, you kind of cracked a few codes of the human experience.
Sure. And not a few. You've cracked the code,
right?
But the only thing you don't know is where the code is coming from. So you've cracked the code, saying, okay, I could watch this, right, simulation happen to me, or I could watch these thoughts happening to me, or I could watch all this happening to me, watch my emotions, but I don't understand what's pulling the strings still.
Yeah. So
like me now, I'm at the point now where, not that I have two mindsets, but like somebody will say something to me and I'll have a automatic reaction mentally to it. And I look at that reaction and I say, that is an old, and I'm going to, and not that I'm a big believer in the whole simulation thing, but it's kind of a cool concept, right?
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah, it's a cool concept. I think, I look at it as, so this reaction is a code or a program that I've developed over my years that just plays automatically, right? Input is the trigger from the person, and when I input into my keyboard, well, here's what the computer pops out. So my mind has been programmed over years. When somebody says this or acts like this, like when people act egotistically, I have a natural reaction to try to, in my mind, to protect people around them who aren't egotistical and could get bulldozed by them.
Okay, caught up in it.
Like my natural reaction is to prop up the person who's not like that, to say, hey, no, you don't feel bad because that asshole wants to be a dick right now. Now, there's times to do that, and there's times where you have to be, you have to find your own ego's popping up. So I kind of watch these reactions happen. I take a breath, and then I'll say, do I want to engage that reaction or no? I don't know, like, what's making it all happen. So I know I'm watching it.
Default is happening first in here before you actually.
Well, that's when you have that awareness. Yeah. And look, again, it's not a perfect.
When I said in here, I'm pointing to my head.
Yeah.
Nobody can see me, but default, it's happening in your head.
Yeah.
And the first default reaction is whatever that old hardwire answer was. But then come in.
Something above it comes in and says, and let's say, but you look at it and you're like, I don't want to engage that. And I don't know where that comes from. I'm not talking to myself. I look at it and I know I don't want to engage that behavior. And I don't engage that behavior.
It's the new rewiring that you did.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to make is we don't know where that comes from, right? So all of a sudden, what we thought was life here, well, now we've put it here, and now we're behind it watching a lot of our emotions and thought patterns and worries and concerns. Yeah. Even though things are happening to us, like in our lives, we're watching a lot of it happen. But it's like, so now I got this awareness. Where'd this come from? Like, what's this awareness? That's the answer we don't know. Like, it doesn't have a name, a voice. Your awareness, your presence doesn't talk to you. It just makes you see things clearer. And from there, there's this that's why I say, this knowing that kind of says, cook, go home.
This is very strange.
It's like Morgan Freeman being here and going, go home.
I am your conscience.
Go home. And says, so your son all he might have heard in his head is just, and not even in his voice. You don't even hear it in your voice. That's the funny part. Yeah. It's like you're hearing it in a voice you can't describe. Yeah. You just heard, go home. Because when you're talking to yourself, you could hear yourself thinking. You hear yourself ruminating and ruminating. But when it's that, you just hear, go home. And you're like, I just want to go home.
Yeah.
And you don't know why. Yeah. It's something that's... Now, whether he would have gone there and had a great time or not, like, I'm not saying if he would have went, he wouldn't have had a great time.
Right.
But it wasn't right for him in that moment. And his now, it was go home.
Find safety.
I wanted to be with my family tonight. How do you not... I'm trying to look for the right word. Let that kid know that following his gut was whether you personally in your bias agreed with that decision or not, as another person. That's not important. How do you not go to that kid and go, great job listening to your inner what I was taught by another spiritual teacher, Alex Mills, I worked with, not listening to your inner mentor. Like the inner mentor is just another way of saying that knowing. It's all different words. Like when I say it's that deeper knowing that just kind of pushes and pulls you, it's your inner mentor that's telling you the right thing for you to do for you in that moment. Not this is the right answer for the rest of your life, or this is going to make you the most money, or this is going to be the best job. It's right now, this is where you need to be. And that's it. And questioning that is when this comes back in. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, well, did I make the right decision? If you don't question it, you're not suffering that decision. It was a decision that you just knew you had to follow, and you move on with your life. And there's no pain. There's nothing else attached to it. Yeah. You go on.
Yeah, we have a ritual in my house that. Well, first of all, we have few rituals in my house, but one of them is
you starting a church or something.
No, and I'll go into it. Just one of the rituals we have is that when you come in from the street, whoever's inside the house. I'm giving you a big hug and a kiss. Hello.
That's great. Right. I wish more people would do that. That's actually pretty cool.
And that's a ritual that we do because
yeah.
And the other ritual is the good night bedtime ritual, where I make sure that we give each other a big kiss and hug before we go to bed. So I will kiss and hug all my children.
And your wife?
Of course. Well, I go to bed with her. And we keep that ritual. So that night, which was just a few nights ago, that night, I kept that ritual. I just, I didn't make a big drama scene about it, nothing like that. But I did, I held him a little tighter and said, I'm proud of you for following your gut. Good job, good job following your instinct.
I think that was, so to go back to the original question that you asked me, did I make the right decision? I think you just answered it. You answered your own question just now when you said that. When you told your son, good job following your gut, whether you might have personally, your bias.
Yes, there was a bias.
Your bias would have been like, go, don't go, stay, don't.
No, my bias was for him to come.
But you did the best thing for him in that moment was to allow him to realize that he made a choice and for him to be not just okay, but proud of himself that he made a choice. And he just followed it, and that's it. And, that's empowering. You empowered him right there. Say, you made a choice. Done. You made a choice. Most people go through their lives not making choices because they overthink it, and they overthink it, and they overthink it, and they overthink it. And what do I do, and what do I do? And they're on pause.
Paralysis by analysis?
Yeah, it's great. Paralysis by analysis. You're on pause. Eckhart Tolle always says, sometimes he goes, doing anything is better than doing nothing. In other words, if do I go? Do I not go? Instead of staying there and spending 5 hours deciding if you go or don't go, decide, don't go, and go home. Decision made. Go. Decision made. And you start living your life again instead of being on pause, right? So
there's a friend I used to have in India, and he was living in Delhi. He is from Delhi, but his family is Punjab. I don't know if you're familiar with the region, but Punjab is a region of India. It's a state.
Yeah, like Punjab.
Punjab. And so he would make not make fun of me, but he would tell me funny things about Punjabis. And he'd say, being Punjabi, I can tell you, first we do, then we think.
That's great.
And I was like, I get it. Because there were times that maybe I would complain about something. He goes, no, being Punjabi, first we do, then we think.
But there's something actually great to be said about that. I mean, they don't get caught up between their ears. They make a decision and they just go. And then afterwards, okay, if they want to look back on it and decide, okay, what could we have done better? Instead of spending all that time in the beginning analyzing and then
the paralysis by now.
Yeah, that's a real thing. I mean, that was me as a kid. You know how many times I wanted to call a girl growing up as a kid?
Oh my God.
If I tell you,
my God,
I would dial 3 digits, then I dial 4 digits, then I dial 6 digits, then I would stop.
Nerve-wracking.
And then I would dial 3 digits, then I dial 4 digits, and then I would stop.
Nerve-wracking.
2 hours would go by.
Ah, yeah.
And I did nothing.
And you'd play the movie in your head of how it's going to go.
How's it going to go? Instead of just going like this, pick up the phone and call.
Horrible.
Or don't call and fucking walk away.
Horrible.
Because that's it.
John had the same thing.
Yeah, man. And I think the best thing you could do for your kids, and anybody who's listening to this, the best thing you could do for your kids, teach them, empower them to make choices. Not to make the right choices. Because right or wrong is your perspective on things.
Yeah.
To make a choice.
Yeah.
To follow their inner mentor, to follow that gut feeling, that instinct that says that this is where I want to go. This is the path I need to be on right now. And make that choice. And then whether that choice evolves into something else, that's life. That's just how it happens. Doesn't mean that because I'm going down this path, I'm going to be on this path forever. It means I'm on this path, and this is where I need to be right now. This is where the universe or whatever needs me to be right now. And in 5 months, it might be somewhere else. I might, in a year and a half, I might change my, a kid could be like, I want to do this. And then 2 years down the line, okay, well, that evolves into something else. And that evolves into something else. And 10 years ago, you told me I would have wrote a book and had a podcast.
Yeah.
About what? Sheetrock and nails?
What are you smoking?
Yeah. I mean, about how to run a construction company, how to organize yourself, maybe.
Right.
Like about this? I would have been no. But I didn't know, like, my life was going to take me down this path, which would have created all this for me. Yeah. For me to live this kind of life and do what I kind of like enjoy doing with this stuff. So, but that's the beauty of it, is you make the choice and you go from there.
So that hidden decision maker, and I say, hey,
like the Wizard of Oz, the little guy behind the curtain.
Yeah, the unidentified decision maker.
Yes,
the unidentified decision. Do you tend to now, after a few good decisions, do you tend to now say, I trust my gut?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I think you just...
Because we're labeling this guy as the gut.
Well, yeah, well, it's really, yes, we just, and that is always, and, we'll always say this, that's just using words and language that we need. Like we said before,
this case,
the caveman didn't have that language. He just knew. Something said, don't go, there, here. And they would follow that, and that's how they survived.
And every decision that goes...
Do we get better at it?
Not that we get better, but we tend to trust that in unidentified...
It's not that you're trusting it anymore. I honestly think that you're hearing it more. And you... It's not something that you don't trust, because if you're trusting it, I think your mind's coming back in and saying, okay, I trust you, voice.
Okay.
It's not about trusting that voice. It's about being aware and realizing it's there, because that voice isn't there to lead you in the wrong direction. It's always, that inner mentor is always there to do what's best for you. And again, this is the part where I say, I don't know where that comes from. I don't know where that gets information. I don't know where that does its valuation of the situation, where it told Cookie, go home. Like, we don't know what the process was, because it didn't take him an hour to come to that decision.
No.
That came to him.
Split. Literally
boom,
split.
Go home.
Yeah.
So, like, in a nanosecond,
when
something processed in him and said, go home.
Because he's telling, and when he realized, I'm alive. Because he literally, like he says, the minute I spun out of control, the only thing I could think of is the cars behind me, T-boning me, taking me out.
You ever driving and you're getting a little groggy while you're driving? You're like, you're getting a little tired.
You know me, I drive a lot, yeah.
Yeah. I can tell, because this happened to me. And all of a sudden, like, a car comes near you, or your car hits the rumble strips on the side, because you kind of swing. And all of a sudden you have this moment of alertness, like, whoof. Like,
okay.
Everything went away, and you're just hyper-focused on what's happening. And your mind becomes very clear at that moment. You're not thinking anymore. You're just here. And you're seeing, and and for a few seconds, you're just uber present. Like, this is what happens to me. Like, I stop any thought stream, and I'm just, whatever it is inside of me just goes here and now.
I got it.
Right? To be aware of what's happening. And then within a few seconds, Here come, okay, a thought comes back in. Ooh, wow, that was close. Wow. Let me stay awake. Let me open a window. Let me smoke that cigar. Let me keep myself awake. Chew some gum.
Survival mode.
Sure.
Basic.
Basic.
Very basic. So the caveman, the minute...
That's what we don't listen to anymore.
Right, so the caveman was survival mode.
Yes.
And my son was survival mode clicked on. Your example of the, I'm kind of, my eyes are kind of closing.
Yeah, in that moment of hyper awareness.
And then I hit the was it rumble strip?
The rumble strips.
And whoa, survival.
Yeah.
Survive. Yeah, you wake up and you go, okay, survive.
Well, you're not thinking, you're doing at that point. You're just doing. Your body, you're just reacting and you're doing.
That mode, if we can tap into it. I mean, we don't want to abuse it because...
No, you don't abuse it because that mode's not meant... That's not there for every second of your life because you're not in survival mode every second.
Right. If you are,
and survival mode is for those instances, right? Where you react. You don't think, you just kind of swerve and react, right? But when you're listening for it, you're going to hear it more often. And it's not survival mode. It's going to be other things that kind of it guides you in certain. So you hear it in survival mode or on the rumble strips because it gets loud. It's just like. Whatever thought processes are going on, whatever this is, however your mind shuts that off and says, Henry, here.
We're taking over.
We're taking over. So when we practice awareness, you actually you said tap into. You get to experience that more often and hear it more often, even in the small decisions, right? Like somebody says something that's triggering. Instead of you flying off the handle with it, something comes in and says, well, let's look at that reaction happen. We don't want to engage it. We just want to stay where we are now. And then maybe a more clear decision comes out of that, right? So there's all these things that keep passing through our heads. It's that awareness is going to be able to make you see, hear things clearer in your own mind instead of just following. You know?
Wow. So. You know what, real quick? I just thought of that survival instinct.
Yeah.
When it hit me last, I had a survival instinct flash. Did I tell you the story? I think I did tell you the story. That I was on my way driving back from Florida. Yeah, we were driving back from Florida, and I was somewhere because we were driving back from Miami, and I was somewhere in northern Florida, and we stopped at a rest stop.
What was this?
This was 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So. McDonald's, it was pouring, like a Florida rain like no other.
Yeah, sheets of rain.
Right. So we go into this McDonald's for a stop. We go to the bathroom, and literally, I'm on my way out of the bathroom, and I asked my son, "Can you hold the door open for me?" And he forgot. So the door is closing, and I stick my foot out to catch the door because I don't want to touch the handle.
Yeah.
John, in the act of sticking my foot out, I slip. I am airborne in a McDonald's bathroom.
I'm not trying to laugh, but
I'm
visualizing
trust
you in the
me when I tell you, you're not the only one that laughed that day. So I'm airborne, and I am in that split second, which is 1 second.
Everything slows down. It slows down for a second.
John, I knew that I was now not perpendicular, but what do you say? Parallel.
Parallel.
I knew that I was parallel to the floor. And I knew that I cannot fall and hit my head because that's what was going.
Yeah.
So I had the wherewithal in that 0.01 of a second to tuck my head in and fall with my head tucked in, chin to chest, as opposed to, let's say when you go to bed, you fall like this. Chin to chest, tuck in, and I fell.
That's a survival instinct.
This is 1 second.
That's a survival instinct.
And
where'd that come from? Years and years and years and years and millions of years of evolution that's ingrained in all. This is my kind of theory on it. Not my theory, but my belief on this. What I kind of think is it's millions of years of evolution that has taught your body to react a certain way in certain circumstances that is beyond your thinking control, right? So beyond. This thinking wasn't always here. Like this has evolved, this thinking mind. And I think the more it evolves, the more pain and suffering people have.
Yeah.
I think the caveman was a much more
simpler and
more peaceful being than we are. even though we have the modern luxuries of life, which is great, right? All these modern technology and them, indoor plumbing, all great things.
Right.
They're all great
You
things.
mentioned a good one.
Yeah, I mean, they're all great things. I'm not knocking our evolution.
Climate,
not at all.
Climate control, right?
Yeah.
You can
This
stay
what helps
warm
us
in the
survive.
winter.
And that's where the mind has been great in helping us to survive. But when that survival tool is no longer needed, which is why I think in the last 20 years, mental health has really become
Yeah.
a big.
Yeah.
When for years our mind was used as an instinct tool, and then a survival tool on top of it to become build better house. You know, build structure, live in structure. Went from a cave to a hut, from a hut to to a wood frame building, and we've evolved that. But as we keep doing that, our mind just keeps trying to improve and improve and improve and improve and improve. It doesn't stop. And if you don't have awareness, it starts then, how do I improve me? How am I better? How do I get better looking? How do I get in better shape? How do I look better than him? How do I make more money than him? How am I get better baseball player than him? How do I put more posts about my kid on Instagram than that one on Instagram so people like my pictures more than it doesn't stop evolving. It's a never-ending AI in our mind that just keeps unless you have that awareness to say, that's great, AI, I don't give a fuck what you want to do. I'm going to stay here. I don't need to follow you down this rabbit hole of how things can be better or how things are worse or whatever. And that's why I think mental health is kind of taken a...
But this is mindfulness.
Yes.
Okay, so
Sure.
I can take mindfulness, and I'm going to go back to the Paleolithic era.
Paleolithic era.
You like that? It's a vocabulary word.
Yes, I know.
Mesozoic.
Mesozoic. What are
So-
you, Ross Geller from Friends?
If we go back, it would have been a pertinent tool in our daily life. Now I want to go forward. I want you to picture the year 2280. We don't know what that's going to look like, but given the advances of technology and life, we're going to need mindfulness more so than right now, which is already something to be said, because this fleshy thing doesn't advance. It's still a fleshy thing that produces the same human experience with different inputs, because technology, because society, but that mindfulness will always keep you like you said.
Absolutely.
You took me to the Instagram world, right? To the I gotta get more likes, I gotta get more views, and my kid is, you get caught up in the stupidity. But when you have some ground wire like mindfulness to really touch ground, you're able to process things a little bit more humanly.
I think you're able to see that thinking mind as separate than you. Like you start, like the way I look at it is my thinking mind isn't who I am. My thinking mind is this tool that I get to use. When I say I actually speak about awareness, like
a little computer.
This thing behind it that I don't know what it is. This is what I was talking earlier in the episode. I don't know, and I'm not trying to figure that out. And I just allow that to kind of guide me, and I get then to use this tool as I need it instead of having this tool use me. And I think we're at the point right now where the majority of people in the world, even though there is, like, I do see a shift starting, but the majority of people in the world see their minds and believe this is who I am.
Yeah, they stop right there.
Yes,
yeah.
And you could go down so many avenues with this, right? The nostalgic avenue, the future avenue. Like, your mind's not going to stop giving you scenarios how things were great. I wish I could go back to these times. Oh my God! And we've said this before.
Yeah.
Great. Why? Because those times were great. What benefit is that? Where's the benefit? But your mind's not trying to hurt you. It's trying to figure out how do I make Henry survive? How do I make John survive? Okay, I have to make John survive, but I need to remember the past. I need to prepare for the future. I need him to understand that he's got to be better at this and better at that. It's not trying to harm you. It's trying to do its job, but it's in a world where it's not needed as much anymore, that survival instinct. And that's now evolved into, my survival instinct is comparing and compare to everything around me. How do I compare to that? How do I compare to this? How do we protect John from this? How do we protect John from that? Because, like we said, I think it was episode 1 or 2. We don't have tigers running in our house anymore. Maybe if the lights go out someday, we'll go back to that. But I don't, until then,
Yeah.
that's not an issue for us. So,
I gotta say, this was a very heady episode.
yeah, but it wasn't heady in language.
We should do this episode high as a kite on, and let's see where that goes.
So it was heady, I think, in
Something that we
in the
cannot.
subject. The subject, but I don't think like the words we were using.
No,
Going
on the subject matter.
Yes,
Because we're talking about something that we really cannot pinpoint. Like,
no, and that's the beauty of it. You can't pinpoint.
there is a beauty to it, right?
Sure.
There's a beauty, and there's also a angst. Like, what are you?
The angst is the mind. How does the mind? The mind can't comprehend. So if the mind can't comprehend something, what's it going to do?
Make up stories and stuff.
Yeah, God is a man with a white beard. Why? Because I need to know that God is a man with a white beard.
Right.
How do I explain what I don't know? I got to give it a face. God, you're my face.
There you go.
Okay. Heaven, hell. That's it. Those are my points.
Yep.
Point A, point B, because the mind needs to have a beginning and an end. The mind doesn't end. The mind can't comprehend itself. Scientifically you can, but the mind can't comprehend infinity. Like, what do you mean? How does something just keep going? We're born, we die. Even a rock erodes over millions of years. Everything that comes eventually erodes and goes away. Some last longer, some last shorter in clock time, but like everything, the mind can't comprehend that. So I stop trying to. The best advice I give somebody is when your mind wants to do that, let your mind do that. You bring your focus back to where you want it. And you do that enough, then you're going to start to have your mind be the hammer that you get to take out of your tool belt when you want it.
Wow.
Instead of the one. Like I think you said it in one of our early episodes.
Yeah.
Just going around fucking this hammer making
whack-a-mole,
making holes everywhere. So
yeah. Wow. And I would say this episode has been brought to you by the Universal Lens, a great book that you can catch on Amazon.
Oh yes.
Or you just go to Amazon.com and put up the Universal Lens, and you're gonna get a treat. I highly recommend it. John really, gives he puts his heart and soul into this thing, and I think it's gonna make a difference. Everybody who's read it has clearly said, like, amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty been, thankfully and gratefully, it's been, the people who have read it and bought it and I've spoken to have said the same thing. Some people, there's things in that they'll say there's one chapter, and I've heard my son was reading the book, told me, he goes, the chapter where you talk about that I am not my mind, he goes, I don't get that. I'm like, and I go, actually, that's what people, that's how you know you're still identified with your mind. When you don't realize what I am not my mind means.
Yeah.
And I said, but that's the beauty of it, is this is how you get to that point.
Yeah.
You need to first be aware that you're an alcoholic before you can start becoming, before you can get off the wagon. Get on the wagon? Off the wagon?
Yes, on the wagon.
Get on the wagon.
Yeah.
Before you get on the wagon. So you need to actually realize that you don't understand the question, I am not my mind, before you can start to understand what it means that you are not your mind. So it's been accepted pretty well. So if anybody wants to check it out,
highly recommend
check it out. Maybe I'll do an audiobook someday.
Yeah, man, that'd be great.
I'll do it in Spanish. I'm joking.
I'll do the Spanish one. Are you kidding me? I'd love to. I'd love to do the Spanish one. That's something to think about.
Yeah. So all right. I think we're good.
That was great.
I think that was I love that topic. I love that topic because I think anybody listening to this could get benefit from that.
We have a natural segue of things. You know what I mean? It's just we start talking about our stuff and then we segue, and
because that's what life will do.
And
life is a learning experience if you treat it as one. It's not I'm successful, I'm not successful, I'm great, I'm not great. It's one big ass learning experience. It's just one big ass experience.
Yeah.
Just experience life with the shit and the headaches and the stuff. Just experience life, and you start to see things feel lighter. Even when they're dark, they feel lighter. Even when you're going through some shit, like real life shit, like, legitimate, this is happening crap, there's a lightness behind it. You're not carrying a boulder. You're not carrying a stone. You just know that you're going through something that's not enjoyable.
On a personal level, I'll tell you one thing that you told me a few weeks ago to help me. You said, you're not changing, you're evolving. Things evolve.
Things evolve. Everything ebbs and flows, man. Yeah. The universe ebbs and flows. The earth ebbs and flows. waves ebb and flow, everything ebbs and flows. When you realize that everything in life shifts and moves, and you don't just, instead of trying to frigging course correct everything, just kind of ebb and flow with it. There's an ease. It's like water. It's like a river. A river will carve out its path. It's not going to carve out its path by going. It's going to find its path slowly. Sometimes that path's going to be a little harder. Then sometimes that path's going to get easier. But at all times, the water just goes. We keep flowing. We just flow. We flow. We flow.
Like Bruce Lee.
Like Bruce Lee said that.
Be water.
Be water. Yeah.
Water has no form.
That's great. Yeah, he did say that. I know you knew that. He did say that. Yeah. So, all right. I think we're good.
Yeah.
All right. So, everybody, thank you very much for listening in. Hope everybody enjoyed the episode and got something out of it. I know I do every time I do this.
Yeah.
And
yeah, kind of.
And as we always do, we'll end it with our quick little guided meditation. So wherever you are, please, if you're seated, always try to fix your posture if you can. You want to keep your eyes open and closed, it's up to you. And let's do our usual breathing where we do the 2-second inhale, 2-second hold, and 2-second exhale. And along the way, I'll just keep talking us through it. So as you're breathing, if you notice that your mind right now is trying to figure out what the mind is, or it's asking a question about what we discussed, notice that question. There's no need to answer it or try to figure out an answer. Just kind of be aware of what's happening in your head right now. And just see it as a passing cloud. And just notice. Like I always say, notice. If you want to shift your focus to your body, again, I just did it in my shoulders. Again, I noticed my shoulders are pulled up and tense. Release any tension that you might have, whether they're in your shoulders, your forehead, your jaw. And don't label it if you were tense. Just release it. Again, we're not about labeling what we're noticing. It's about noticing and then taking an action. Just keep taking those breaths in. If you want to focus on your breathing, that's great. If you want to focus on the body part and bring your attention to a body part, start to feel that body part, whether it's a scan from your legs, and you can scan up to your head. This is a practice in awareness. There's no right, there's no wrong, there's no good, there's no bad. It's an experience. In that experience, if you pay attention, you will find that awareness. You will notice it's there. You'll eventually notice yourself asking yourself a question and then find no need to answer that question. That's a good indication of knowing that you have tapped in and kind of found that awareness behind it all. Let's keep taking some breaths. If nothing's coming up, that's great too. If your mind goes blank, beautiful. And then a thought will pop up, that's beautiful too. Let's take a couple of more. One more. And we'll bring this home. And slowly open your eyes. Welcome back to the world, everybody. If you were here the whole time, it's great. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening in. And we will catch you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Peace. The insights and discussions that we speak about on our show are our own opinions and based on our life experiences. If you or someone in your family or someone you know is suffering and in need of help, please get them that help through medical attention or seeking proper therapy. Again, what we speak about are based on our experiences and not intended to be taken as a form of therapy.